Picture this. You're at a family dinner and everything is fine until your uncle puts down his fork and asks the question you've been dreading all year. So when are you two finally going to stop throwing money away and buy a house? Every eye at the table turns to you. Your cousin, who bought a townhouse last year, is smiling that smile. And you're sitting there wondering how to explain that you've actually run the numbers and renting makes more sense right now, without sounding like you're making excuses for failing at adulthood. Sound familiar? Well, what if I told you your uncle is wrong? Not a little wrong. Completely, mathematically, demonstrably wrong for most people in 2026.
My name is Bax, and I spend way too much time thinking about money and why people make the financial decisions they do. If you're tired of feeling judged for renting and want the actual math behind why buying isn't always the obvious win everyone pretends it is, hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if it helps you see things more clearly.
The idea that renting equals failure is not some ancient financial truth. It's a marketing narrative built by mortgage lenders and real estate industries operating in an economy that looked nothing like today's. In the 1950s, buying made obvious sense. Prices were low relative to incomes, and staying put for 30 years was both practical and expected. But home prices have increased roughly 400% since 1990, while median household income only rose about 180% over the same period. The math that made buying a no-brainer for your grandparents has completely broken down, and yet the cultural pressure hasn't moved an inch. So let's do the math your uncle never bothered to run.
Take a median-priced home in a mid-tier American city right now, around $420,000. Not a mansion, just a normal 3-bedroom house in a normal neighborhood. A traditional 20% down payment means $84,000 in cash before you sign anything. The median savings account balance in America is around $8,000. Most people aren't close. But let's say you manage it. You still owe closing costs of 2 to 5% of the purchase price, another $8,000 to $21,000 due at signing. Before a single mortgage payment, you've already spent between $92,000 and $105,000 just to get the keys. Now the mortgage. You're financing $336,000 at current rates, around 6.5% to 7%. Monthly principal and interest lands around $2,200 to $2,350. Add property taxes at $350 to $600 per month, homeowner's insurance at $150 to $300, maintenance budgeted at 1% of home value annually, which is another $350 per month at minimum. Your true monthly cost of owning that home sits between $3,050 and $3,600, and that's before anything major breaks. A comparable rental in the same market runs $1,800 to $2,200 per month. The difference between renting and owning the same type of property is roughly $1,000 to $1,500 every single month. And here is where the conversation your uncle never wants to have actually begins.
That monthly difference doesn't disappear when you rent. You get to decide what happens to it. Take that $1,200 monthly gap and invest it consistently in a simple index fund, earning the historical average of around 8% annually. After 10 years, you'd have approximately $220,000. After 20 years, you're looking at over $700,000. The money you save by renting, when invested consistently, can generate more wealth than the equity you'd build in the home, especially when you realize that a massive portion of your early mortgage payments go almost entirely to interest rather than ownership. On a $336,000 loan at 6.75%, your first monthly payment of roughly $2,180 breaks down like this. About $1,890 goes directly to the bank as interest. Only $290 actually reduces what you owe. You are overwhelmingly paying the bank for the privilege of borrowing money, not building equity. Your uncle calls renting throwing money away, but somehow handing $1,890 per month to a bank in pure interest never gets the same criticism at Thanksgiving dinner.
Let me show you what this looks like with two real people. Meet Jordan and Casey.
Both are 30 years old, both earn $85,000 per year, and take home about $5,500 per month. They live in the same city, looking at the same $420,000 house. Jordan buys. Monthly housing costs land at $3,200 after mortgage, taxes, insurance, and maintenance. That leaves $2,300 for everything else. It's tight. Every unexpected expense goes on a credit card because there's simply no buffer. Casey rents the equivalent place for $2,000 per month. That leaves $3,500 for everything else. Casey invests $800 monthly into index funds and keeps $400 as financial cushion. When the car needs repairs, it's not a crisis. When a great job opportunity opens in another city, Casey can seriously consider it. Jordan cannot. 10 years later, Jordan has built maybe $60,000 to $80,000 in equity, assuming modest appreciation. Casey has an investment portfolio worth approximately $145,000 from consistent contributions alone. Casey also still has full flexibility to move, take risks, and make choices that Jordan's mortgage has been quietly vetoing for a decade.
There's also the exit cost that nobody factors in, honestly. When you sell a home, real estate commissions alone run 5 to 6% of the sale price. On a $420,000 home, that's $21,000 to $25,000 gone immediately. That single transaction cost can erase years of equity building in one afternoon.
Now, I want to be clear. This video is not telling you to never buy a home. Buying makes sense when you plan to stay in one place for at least 7 to 10 years, when your purchase costs are genuinely comparable to renting in your market, when you have a solid emergency fund on top of your down payment, and when buying doesn't stretch your budget to the point where one bad month becomes a financial emergency. The problem is that almost none of those conditions exist for most people in most markets right now.
Your landlord is not stealing from you. Your landlord is providing housing in exchange for rent. That transaction is not inherently worse than paying a bank hundreds of thousands in interest over 30 years. Both involve paying someone else for something you need. The difference is that renting keeps your options open, and buying locks them away. This is not a morality question. It's a math question. And in 2026, for most people in most markets, when you run the honest numbers, renting and investing the difference wins. The cultural narrative hasn't caught up to the math yet, but the math doesn't care about narratives. It just keeps being true, whether your uncle acknowledges it or not. Your financial future isn't determined by whether you own or rent. It's determined by whether you make intentional decisions with your money instead of emotional ones. And right now, for a lot of people, the most intentional decision is to keep renting, keep investing, and let the math do its job.